And now for more on this decision, Anita Anand is the Minister of National Defence. We spoke with her just a few minutes ago. She's in Ottawa. Minister Anand, thank you for joining us. Why is Admiral Art McDonald out?
Well, Katie, if I could just back up to say congratulations to General Wayne Eyre on being appointed as the Chief of Defence Staff. This is an important day for the Canadian Armed Forces, and I would like to congratulate him on the steps that he and I are going to take really together to ensure that cultural change in the Canadian Armed Forces occurs and that we execute on strong, secure, and engaged.
We'll talk about General Eyre in a moment, but I still want to ask the question, why is Admiral Art McDonald out?
It is important to realize, as stated in the Order in Council, that the Governor General signed and issued today, that it's necessary to execute your duties in this role in a way that is over and above simply acting within the bounds of the law. And there were a number of instances that occurred before my tenure that were of concern, I believe.
Can you speak to what specifically, I know it didn't happen on your watch, but can you speak to specifically what those concerns were?
I think what would be prudent and appropriate at this time is for me to focus on the future and the steps ahead, large task ahead that we have to protect victims' rights in the Canadian Armed Forces. And part of that means that the leadership is going to need to be acting with me and with our government in terms of affecting cultural change in the Canadian military.
Does Admiral Art McDonald have a future in the Canadian Armed Forces?
Again, the appointment of the Chief of Defence Staff is an at-pleasure appointment. It is made by the Prime Minister. And as a result, I will work with whomever that appointee is, and I will continue working with General Eyre on the important steps that I think we all need to focus on, not just cultural change in the Canadian military. We have a state of emergency in both British Columbia and Nova Scotia at the current time, and we need to focus on the issues at hand, both here at home and abroad. And that's exactly what I'm going to do as minister. That's exactly what I have been doing, and I'll continue to do that with General Eyre.
And I'm certainly going to be asking you questions about that coming up in this conversation, but I'm just curious, what happens to Art McDonald now? Where does he go? What happens?
Well, again, this is an issue that I believe is being taken under consideration. He is on leave at the current time from the forces, and he is no longer Chief of Defence Staff.
Okay, so tell us, why is General Wayne Eyre the right person for this job?
Over the past 4 weeks, I have worked with General Eyre every day, and I have, in my conversations with him and in our daily meetings and visits to bases, assured myself that he is committed to cultural change in the Canadian military, which is my foremost priority. And I will continue to ensure that we are executing on the steps that need to be taken to ensure that all members of the Canadian Armed Forces feel safe and protected and respected as they serve our country. I believe that he is willing and able and committed to this task, and we will work on this together.
In the past 12 months, Canadian Armed Forces have been deployed to half a dozen natural disasters in this country. Is this having an impact on the military's operational capabilities?
Well, let's take British Columbia as an example. We had Canadian Armed Forces in British Columbia 2 days before we received the request for assistance, and we now have over 500 troops on the ground in British Columbia. Of course, that does raise the question of, if these natural disasters continue, can we continue to assist and serve in this area? And indeed, we have thousands more Canadian Armed Forces who are ready to step up every single day. They recognize that this is a all hands on deck moment. In terms of resources going forward, I will continue to advocate with our government to ensure that the Canadian Armed Forces has what it needs. let's be clear, Strong, Secure, Engaged is fully costed and fully funded, and we will continue to ensure that it allows Canadian Armed Force members to work, to serve here at home and abroad.
There are significant concerns about Russia and a fresh buildup of troops near Ukraine. The Globe and Mail reported yesterday that as a way to deter Russian President Vladimir Putin, you are considering deploying hundreds of Canadian troops, additional troops, to Ukraine to support the training mission there. Is that true? Are you considering that?
Well, I'd like to confirm that we do have concerns regarding the buildup of the Russian military at the border. We have been partners with Ukraine since 2015, at least with Operation Unifier, with men on the ground, women on the ground, soldiers on the ground.
But are you considering, I hate to jump in because we're limited time here, are you considering sending additional troops to that mission?
At this time, we are working with our allies on a multilateral basis to ensure that we are supporting Ukraine in as much fulsome a way as possible. And the international partnership and the rules-based order that supports international democracies is extremely important to Canada and our allies, and we'll continue working to support that.
But is it under consideration?
As I said, Operation Unifier has been an extremely important facet of our response to Ukraine, and we will continue working with our allies through Operation Unifier and other initiatives as we discuss and decide together.
Minister, the Halifax International Security Forum, the next one will be in Taipei, Taiwan in January. Will you attend?
Listen, Katie, I've been on the job for 4 weeks, and I have a number of things on my plate, including, as I said, natural disasters here at home and a number of international obligations that I've been discussing with La Ministre Mélanie Joly. I will continue to take under advisement offers and requests for my participation, both internationally and here at home. But I don't want to lose focus, Katie. Our job, first and foremost, is to ensure that victims' rights are protected in the Canadian military. Our budget, we continue to support victims' rights through contributions in our budget, through Bill C-77, and making sure that cases are moved from the military justice system to the civil justice system. Those are my priorities, Katie, and I will continue working on them every single day.
I get that, but have you made a decision about whether you will go to the Halifax International Security Forum in Taipei, Taiwan next year? Will you do that?
I have not made a decision at this point.
Minister, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.